extremely short. Limbs are usually abducted and thick. And why do you think they're thick? Why do you think they're considered thick?
Just ratio.
Ratio-wise, they're not exactly thickened, but if you have really short legs and normal muscular structure, it looks like you have really. Are you saying that's you or that's your question?
I have a question. It will sound stupid, but does it look like a dachshund?
That is exact. I was about to ask, what breed do we think that kind of describes? Because yes, so they have the shortened, normal size torso and really shortened legs. But it's more of an extreme where the legs look really stumpy and hyper contracted muscles. So dachshund is sort of probably on that level, but not as severe. Soft tissue, the muscles are of normal volume, but they can be excessive as it relates to the skeleton. Yes?
So you said in the previous slide that the torso is normal, but on this slide it says the vertebral column are extremely short.
Right. Vertebral column, well, yes. So that is true. So, and the reason I say that, if you look at this picture here, if you think of a normal calf, if I look at the torso area or just the body itself, I would consider it relatively normal. If we look at the animal more internally, the column is sort of shortened because these animals are still going to have a shortened stature. So it's when I say it's the torso looks normal. If I split this animal in half, I would say the top half looks perfectly fine to me. But if I look at it when you go in necropsy, then you see those differences in the vertebral column. So it's kind of a little bit of both. But the thing that stands out the most would be the abduction of the limbs, while the rest of it can be more shortened. The cranium becomes enlarged and dome-shaped because the brain continues to grow, and they have a tendency for hydrocephalus to develop. Do we know what hydrocephalus is? Right. And we'll talk about that more when we do the CNS system. When we look at it microscopically, their chondrocytes are basically arranged in an irregular fashion. So the endochondral ossification requires the use of chondrocytes or the presence of chondrocytes, and in this disease they are irregularly fashioned because, again, the growth is abnormal. All right. Spider-Lamb disease kind of falls under that category. So this is actually a disease process. It does have, when I say disease, let me take that back. It has a more of a genetic aspect in terms of it's under sort of a semi-lethal gene. These animals may be present at birth, but as they develop disproportionate long limbs and neck, a shallow body, scoliosis, and or kyphosis. And in addition to that...
I'm sorry, Tanisha, may I sit here or will I offend you? Because I'm not very popular right now. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, Dr. Kasny, with all due respect.
Okay.
I've been up all night, so
I understand.
I'm sorry. It will not happen again, please excuse me.
Yes, ma'am. I know I don't know what that was. Oh, I was talking about the presentations. They can also have a valgus or knock-knee appearance. So if you put all those things together, it sounds like a complete disaster. So they call it spider-lamb disease because these animals look like they have long spider-like legs. They have short, narrow necks and bodies, scoliosis of the spine or kyphosis, and then knock-knee appearance. What we see is elongation of the occipital condyles in a cranial-caudal fashion, and you may see irregular bands of cartilage. So let's look at breed that are predisposed. Suffolk and Hampshire. So which breed is this?
What's the Suffolk?
Who thinks it's Suffolk? Who thinks it's a Hampshire? Who did not take sheep breeds in school and had no idea what's happening?
That was so long ago.
And what do we think this one is then? Okay. Let's go back and review. The head of a Suffolk is all black. This is the Suffolk. The head of a Hampshire is black around the nose and eyes. Okay? I know these are little things that I don't remember either.
I'm sorry, what's the, Bart Simpson, was that Bart Simpson or?
Oh, that's, okay. That's not Bart Simpson. Homer. So I haven't changed all of these, so in my older days, it meant that this is a disease that is important. You need to make sure you know this disease.
What's that yellow guy thing?
That's Homer.
I just thought I drank too much last night. I mean, why is he moving?
This is going to be a long day of picture. Homer. Okay, let me explain. Homer.
South Park? That little guy?
No! Simpsons.
Oh, the guy, the one that has the pot smoking, or how about the dancing piece of food? Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
You've gone on a ride.
I have. I've never been right, I'm sorry. I'll be honest.
I waved the white tissue. Yes.
Okay, so with this disease, about how long does it take for you to start seeing the confirmation issues? Like,
So usually around 6 months, you start seeing, now some are actually born with the defect. They'll come out with really long legs. You're probably gonna have issues with parturition. But within 6 months, you start noticing as they develop. So if you think of animals as they grow, the limbs start to get extremely long. They're gonna have issues with walking because they're gonna have that knock-knee appearance. Okay? All right. This is a sheep with spider lamb disease. And what is this picture is to show you is the elongation of the limbs. Very long legs. They just keep growing, keep growing. And no, these are not model sheep. You know, they're not fashion models. They're just sheep with very long legs. Yes.
How would you differentiate spider lamb from arthrogryposis?
Ah. Okay. So you tell me what arthrogryposis is.
Pretzel.
Right. So when do we see arthrogryposis? Have you done arthrogryposis?
Is it Akabane disease?
The what?
Is it Akabane disease?
Well, you can get an Akabane disease, also called crooked calf disease. And we will, I think we're talking about this later. And it's due to a toxin. So that's why I was like, did you do it in plants? Yes? Yes.
No, we haven't done it.
I'm tired. Oh, so we haven't done it. So what you have is, we actually have a skeleton of crooked lamb disease in necropsy. I call it old dusty because it's cleaned during years. And they have these contracted limbs, but their limbs are not long. Their limbs are contracted. And you would see that at birth. So when the calf comes out, you're like, ooh, those legs don't look right. Because it's a genetic defect that occurs in utero. This one, even though it can occur at birth, it's more of elongation of the limbs. And most cases you're going to see after these animals have started to grow. Because you notice like, oh, these legs are a lot longer than her offspring, other offsprings. But that's a very good question, yeah. We will talk about arthrogryposis when we start looking at joints. Okay. Here it shows you the knock-knee appearance. So do we know the difference between valgus and varus? Yes. Do we have a dance?
One is out, one is in.
And last class had a dance. No, there's no dance? Okay. I want to dance. Christina, you want to?
Come on, Sandcastle, let's go show them how it's done.
God did not bless me with rhythm.
Okay. So this is also another presentation. This is a Suffolk sheep with spider lamb syndrome. Note the long legs. Even though it's hard to see with this picture, the long legs. You can definitely see the long neck right here. A lumbar kyphosis. Lumbar kyphosis. So what is kyphosis? I like it. Which one?
Yeah.
Right. So what's the opposite of kyphosis? Lordosis. Very good. Right. And they also have a Roman nose appearance. So they have a very prominent nose as well. So all of those defects are consistent with spider lamb disease. Do you need to stretch? Any? Yeah, I know how it is. Sitting. I don't know how y'all do this. Sitting all day.
Try being 70.
Oh, what?
Try being 70 and having this.
You were not 70. But it is not good for your back. So if you need to stand up and stretch, please feel free to do that. This is a sort of a cross section of the distal scapula of a lamb with spider lamb disease. And we're just looking at that we have multiple areas of cartilage and with areas of small ossification centers. That is not as important as recognizing the gross features. So I don't want you to worry too much about the bony ossification. That's important for pathologists. But I really need you to make sure you understand the long legs, the kyphosis that they get, and valgus presentation. So those all are part of spider lamb. Yes.
With the severe, we just had a 3-year-old up in Kentucky with like the worst parabola you have ever seen, to the point where you could never even tax the horse. Are they pretty much, I mean, is there any way to address that? Really, nothing at all?
I mean, it would just be out in the pasture.
Yeah, pasture plug. Yeah.
Nothing. And does everybody know what she's talking about? You want to explain?
They don't know, I thought, oh, well, that's one of your equine people, they should probably know. I'm a little tired, so. Annie Lynn, please explain this. The sway back. Yes, thank you.
And we will be talking about swing back.
I'm sorry.
I'm laughing at Annie's face like,
Oh, yeah, she's brilliant. She's brilliant, this one. I mean, she's a brilliant horse.
I love the love. All right, now we're going to talk about something called primordial dwarfism, which falls in that category, also congenital. So we talked about chondrodystrophia fetalis, and we said disproportionate body growth. So limbs may be shortened, body fairly normal size. And then primordial dwarfism is when you have proportionate body growth. So the limbs and the rest of the body are all shortened in this case. I can't find any animals with primordial dwarfism, but I did find this picture of this young lady who has, and yes, everyone says that a doll. She's not a doll. She's a person. And the body and the limbs are shortened of equal capacity. Yes.
So like in humans, dwarfism, you have like the different types, like achondroplasia and stuff like that. In animals, do we have like the same different types of dwarfism?
We do, but we don't go to that extent in this class because it's all has a genetic aspect to it. So we just really look at chondrodystrophia and primordial dwarfism, leave it as that. But they can have a multitude of growth abnormalities.
You said that's not a doll?
That is not a doll. That is a person. Person. All right. Is there a question in there?